Hey everybody, we're on site here talking about belts, suspenders, and water. Now, the old saying, belt and suspenders approach, pertains to doing something to such a high degree that maybe you're overdoing it. But in a construction project, is there really such a thing as overdoing it when water is concerned? What we're looking at here is the joint between the regular foundation wall, it's about 9 feet high, and the frost wall is about 4 feet high. And the reason that we even have a frost wall to begin with is because this end of the project is exposed. It's a walkout, and it has to be protected from the frost, which in these areas goes down to about 42 inches below grade, and this is 48. As you can see, if we get further back on the project, that's going to be more buried, and that wall that does not have a frost wall underneath it. And again, the portions of the foundation that don't need a frost wall are those that are going to be below the frost line anyway, and that are going to be buried and have backfill to the exterior. And these portions and this would be the west end of the enclosure are going to be exposed with a walkout. That's why we need a frost wall. Now, the building code doesn't require sealant in this horizontal seam between the frost wall and the regular foundation wall, although the vertical seams are sealed. Because the frost wall, if water got in that crack, it would be below grade anyway, because the slab of the lowest level is going to be about 4 inches thick anyway. And so if water gets in, it's automatically going to be beneath the slab, and it would find its way to the drainage system. But what if a little bit of water got in? And what if it sat in here? And again, this is 4 feet up. It could freeze here, and the freezing pressure of water, called hydrostatic pressure, is really one of the strongest forces known to man. And could it spall or eat away at this concrete a little bit? I would say yes. So is there a benefit to sealing this horizontal seam so that water can't get in there in the first place? Forget about the fact that if it gets in there, it'll find its way to the interior drainage system. That's pretty much a given. I'm worried about the water that sits there and freezes in a freeze-thaw cycle. Here we are in northern Michigan, climate zone 6. So that's why I'm going to apply a sealant and take care of this horizontal seam, all probably 100 lineal feet of it, around the west end of the enclosure where we have the frost walls. More later when I'm done. Back to that comment about belt and suspenders, essentially meaning a little extra, little redundancy. Never hurt anybody in the building process. Here you can see the seam between the frost wall and the main foundation wall was not only sealed with high quality sealant, it was then parged with a masonry waterproofing compound about a foot above and a foot below the seam. Because again, in my feeling, that seam needs to be protected from freeze thaw, because the frost level is going to be way down at the bottom there, which is about 4 feet below that seam. So here's the finished product. It's not necessarily pretty. It will be functional. Nobody ever got waking in the middle of the night because their house was leaking air. Where probably many people have been awakened in the middle of the night because the house was leaking water. And if you do the research, you'll find that water intrusion is the basis #1 cause of all litigation with respect to home construction. And so it never hurts to do a little bit extra. And again, there's the finished product, all in a day's work.